Welcome everyone to the Minsan Football Show presented to you by Upstream Sports TV. I am Jingham Lang, your host. Welcome back to another episode of the Minsan Football Show. Joining me today is Diego Cordero and Claro Manzano, and safe to say we're sticking true to the title of the show. Basta kapag may game sa weekend, may Minsan football. Alright? We didn't have a PFL match day last weekend, so wala kami last week, but there are going to be games this weekend. So of course, we are back for another episode. But before we get to today's discussions, we want to thank our sponsor, Thirst, our drinks partner. Kick off with savings this football season. Use code PFL 2025 on the Thirst app for special discounts. Thirst is the Philippines' only beverage marketplace. Download Thirst app now wherever you download your apps. So to formally start, let's open this episode by talking about the performance of the national team in their Asian Cup qualifiers. Shout out to our men's national football team. Well done. Back-to-back victories in the span of 5 days. First was a 4-1 victory in Darwin, Australia against Timor-Leste. Then the reverse fixture against the same opponent at the New Clark City Stadium. 3-1 victory here at home. That just happened yesterday. These two individuals were in New Clark City to take in all of the action. So boys, first of all, I'm sure you guys had a great time. Tell us a little bit about the experience watching with 10,000, I believe, were there to take in the spectacle. And of course, we also got a good victory. So, Diego.
Yeah, the atmosphere was amazing. 10,034, I think, is the final number.
That's right, yeah.
From last night. So it's not 8,000 as it was said earlier on in the matchup. It was actually increased more to 10,034. And the atmosphere was fantastic. You could see that it helped the Philippines in the game, especially in the second half. And yeah, overall, a really good window for the men's national team. 2 wins, 6 points against a team that might actually have surprised some people because they kept it close for some parts of both games. And they actually took the lead yesterday. So it was a good opponent to get 6 points against. And overall, just a really good window for the Philippine men's national team.
It was a come-from-behind victory for the Philippines. It made it an extra bit more dramatic, a bit more exciting, and a little bit nerve-wracking because we went into the break behind. Clara, you called that game. Tell us about your thoughts on that match.
First, I will say, let's just wrap up the window because the Philippines played against Timor-Leste twice, right?
Yep.
Nahawa ko sa iyo, Jing. Bjorn Christensen, the man!
That's what, he scored 5 goals in 2 games.
Yep.
Oof.
There you go. It's been 8 goals in 4 games, though, when you look at the qualifiers as a whole. But yeah, I'm not blaming you as David Yumo started doing that thing with the names, with the atmosphere. But, Bjorn still got man of the match because he essentially gave that goal that allowed us to take the lead. But alam naman natin, it's a team effort overall. It was ultra fun to be there, of course, because you're also there for the atmosphere. It does not disappoint. My concert pa. I wasn't there at the concert, of course. I was doing the pre-broadcast stuff, but fantastic. The ultras were in attendance.
Yeah.
Spicing everything up also. So kudos to the team because they got to bag a result on an off day, and if you could do that, it shows that they can go far, and it's a test of character also. And I think they got to display that. But job's not done, as we always hear, as we always say.
Still have 2 games to go in the Asian Cup qualifiers, an away trip to the Maldives in November before a bit of a break before going to Tajikistan, which we all expect to be the big one, right? Right now, the Philippines is atop of the group, only on goal difference. I believe Tajikistan and the Philippines are the only 2 teams that are really vying for qualification into the next round. So, very quickly, I want to know, what are the chances of the Philippines? Do you like it? What are your thoughts heading into the next window next month?
I think the best thing about this current standing of the Philippines is that our destiny is still fully in our control. So we influence what happens for the rest of the group. It's 2 games that historically the Philippines have won in the past at those venues. So there's a bit of a good omen there. But just to put it simply, everything's in the Philippines' control. So they have control over their own destiny, and that's, I think, the biggest takeaway from this qualifier so far.
Claro, any last thoughts?
Yeah, just adding to what Diego said, wala yung mga, oh, we have to win this game and then this team has to lose points. Walang ganun. Just win. We know that's also hard though. But if that happens, guaranteed na yung Asian Cup qualification spot.
Just to clear everybody's mind from any confusion as to how this thing is going to play out in terms of tiebreakers, if Tajikistan and the Philippines end up with the same amount of points after all the matches are played, essentially it's supposed to go down to a head-to-head, right? But since there was a draw in the Philippines, and the only way that the points total would still remain the same would be also a draw, assuming of course that they win the next match against Timor-Leste and the Philippines wins against Maldives, it would essentially go down to still goal difference in the group, correct?
Yeah, overall goal difference, that's what we saw. Just in case, like if you
Alright.
go down the list.
So head-to-head record first, and then goal difference in the group. All right? So good luck to the Philippines. Congratulations on 2 big victories against Timor-Leste, who are no slouches anymore, by the way. So to get that kind of scoreline, I think is quite a testament to the Philippine team's capabilities at this moment in time, and we wish them well in November. Okay, now we've got our Minsan football question of the day, powered by PH Football Hub. We'd like to share that with you right now. How do passionate fan communities influence the visibility and sustainability of Philippine football?
In Tagalog.
Yun lang.
On to the next one.
We'd like to invite everybody to make sure to join the PH Football Hub group on Facebook and follow them on their socials if you haven't already. Also, don't forget to put your answers down in the comment section. While we wait for your answers, I'd like to throw the question back to our panel. Again, how do passionate fan communities influence the visibility and sustainability of Philippine football? I'm going to start with Claro this time.
First, of course, there's the different ideas being thrown into the hat. When I think about this online comment section, ano yan, nagiging brainstorming eh. And when you brainstorm, no wrong ideas. Let's take everything in. And then the time where you start assessing the sustainability and how can this help, that's when you sit down and have a discussion. Okay, this goes here, it's good. This one goes there. Maybe a not so good idea at this point in time. And if there's that chatter, uy, maybe they're onto something with this idea. It will catch the attention of people. So what I'm pretty much referring to here is that voice online. And of course, with the fan communities, maybe with visibility, similar also to what we were saying last week, just people having that influence of, let's go to the game, right? Whether it be you have a meeting or you want to show your friend what you're up to. So those are the 2 answers for me.
All right, Claro. Online visibility and online passion, as well as being able to influence your friends to
Yeah.
come and join the community or experience the football.
Yeah. Oh, we won't forget to ask Jing the question also afterwards. Do you and I, team effort? Let's get it. We
I'll
got
make sure
this.
to ask him after,
Thanks, guys.
after I answer.
We got you, Jing, of course.
Diego.
Yeah, well, the Philippine football fan community, I wouldn't say small community, but it's a community where everyone gets to know everyone. We get to see each other multiple times every game. It's a community that is very familiar with each other. And yeah, I think I can think of multiple communities, whether it's online, whether it's in person, ultras or something, whatever. Whether they're online or in person, what they do is they just bring more people to the sport. For example, even the one who made this question, the Philippine Football Hub, a fan community online that is really helpful for the growth of Philippine football because they centralize all the information. Then you have another group like the Ultras Filipinas who are a different type of fan community, but they also grow the game in their own way by convincing people to support football the Ultras way, which is obviously a thing that is so infectious when you're in the stadium. Like they were last night. They were there. They had their own bus, so congratulations to them. They were a lot also. And yeah, congratulations that the Ultras were able to make their presence felt in the new Clark City Stadium. So it's those things. They just help attract people to football in different ways, whether it's through going to the games in person or whether it's through making, as Clark said, conversations online, brainstorming, whatever. They just help in different ways. And overall, Filipino football fan communities, they're really helpful for Philippine football. And you can also now answer because we will not forget.
What you got, Jake? What's on your mind?
Thank you for asking, guys. Amazing. For me, I've had an opportunity to see some interesting communities abroad in Japan and Korea, and having their communities be activated alongside Vietnamese clubs and their fan bases being activated abroad is something that really opened my eyes. I would say that even if they're just 300 or 400 or not even that big of a number, they come in, they have their banners, they've got streamers that they put down they decorate their side of the stands, they have their flags, they make it as festive as possible, and they create the environment in which they want a game to take place, right? So I think the fans have a huge responsibility, have a huge opportunity to influence how a game is taken in or to shape the environment of every match. So I think it's unique to football that you have that opportunity to really be a part of the spectacle, right? And I'd love to see that happen more often in the Philippines, where you don't come in and you're just wanting to watch a game. It's like, no, we're here to create an atmosphere, right? So I think it's really fun to be around. The singing, the vibrant colors, and how they're able to do that in these communities is very impressive. And it takes like a grassroots movement of getting everybody, the families, involved in these endeavors. So I'd love to see that happen here in the Philippines. No? So let's read some comments.
Well, first, Coffee Vote translated the question. Shout out to you. Thank you so much. Si Klistang Calabao had something good to say also. Humble community. Yeah, good vibes though. And then PFL Bible was saying the support for one another.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's how I could get with it also. Anything you see right now, Diego?
Actually, the one person saying, I'm gonna congratulate PFL Bible. Nice logo, because it looks like he's rebranded. But I saw something here. He actually commented that he loves the community. We all support. I think this is what you're also saying, Claro.
Yep.
We all support each other, and it's actually good to see that another new page is coming up, PFL Bible. It's these type of things. They help grow the sport, and they help create a community under their own pages, under their own content, and it helps also just make discourse about football.
Yes.
When they put out these type of posts or write-ups that, for example, PFL Bible has been doing the past couple of months. So it just helps make noise about it, and that will just help in any way possible.
And then Ducks commented, buy the jerseys that you see here. Aguila Stallion, Cebu,
That's
Kaya
right.
jersey,
Yeah, you're
Tuloy jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got 5 jerseys here represented.
Ayun.
Yeah, these are the Minsan Football Show top 5 by virtue of their availability here on our show. So shout out to Davao, to Agilas, Yumak, to Stallion, to Cebu, to Tuloy, as well as to Kaya for providing us with your merch. We appreciate it very much. All right, so we appreciate the participation of the viewers today. We'll see if we can get to even more of your answers a little later on. But now let's talk about the games we had over the previous weekend of games in the PFL. It was an interesting game weekend for those who missed it. The highlights and videos are available as videos on demand. They're available on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/WeArePFL. All right, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. All right, let's get to it. All right, 5 games over the course of the weekend. Let's start with the 3 that happened on that Saturday. Some one-sided affairs in some, but there was a very close game in between them. Let's start off with Don Bosco Guerrilla United versus Dynamic Herb Cebu. It finished a 6-0 victory for the side of Cebu, who are really trying to pick up a bit of steam in this season. It's been a bit of a stop-start beginning to this season of 2025-26 to them. Thoughts on this contest, the opener on our triple header on Saturday?
Yeah, it was a good win for Cebu. A bit unfortunate for Don Bosco Guerrilla that they're still unable to pick up any points. I think also that they still haven't scored a goal this PFL season. But for Cebu, good win for them, finally helping themselves build up a little bit of confidence. And also, I just want to mention that it was a good
and a
moment
quick
also for Cebu,
goal
given what happened recently,
while
and
we're in
the
this
progress that they were able to
conversation.
give a little bit of joy
By
back to their
number
community back in
26,
Cebu.
Leo Gabriel.
Makiling with a really, really good performance. I think he scored twice that game. Yeah, and overall,
And that was
a
an
really good performance. They got a
early
clean sheet as
goal.
well, which is good always to
From
give their defense
What
some
an
confidence.
opener, just
Probably the
3
perfect
minutes
layout
in this
for
game.
Cebu to
Crap
open
moment,
this
really.
week. And
It's like,
also
oh my
they
gosh,
needed to
now they're
build
gonna be pushing.
momentum from this weekend because their next game, which we'll get on to later, is a really tough one. So good for Cebu, this one.
Leo Makiling, man of the match in that one. Well done to him. Claro, additional thoughts?
Yeah, fitting because Leo is Cebuano, and of course they were rallying and used Bangon Cebu to drive them on, of course. So hopefully that that brings some joy to the people back home also. So that's big for them. And if we go to the next one, yeah, the other game, Aguilas versus Maharlika. Aguilas 2-1. That was a crazy game in a good way. Edge of your seat stuff, as you would say. Jomaray Sapal. If you need a goal, call him. Scored one goal, forced an own goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. We thought that goal was his, but the referee, of course, relayed that info up to the announcer. Own goal daw. So, yeah, essentially, Jomaray Sapal. You can argue, sa akin na lang yan, di ba?
Yeah.
In the situation.
In our minds,
Yeah.
it's Jomaray Sapal's goal because, he deserves that that award for being the hero of the game. I thought he did spectacular in that match, but that was the close one of the day, and
It was.
as expected, I think it was going to be a bit of a dogfight. Were you surprised at how tight it was?
Maybe not necessarily surprised. Maybe a little bit more surprised actually that after the game was at 1-1 and it was even, that the next goal came right away, I think.
All the goals came in the span of 9 minutes.
They all came in
Yeah,
the span
yeah.
of 9 minutes, as
That's
Clara
why it's
said.
crazy. Yeah.
That's why it was so surprising to see the score just keep switching back and forth. In the end, obviously Aguilas will be happy also because they didn't make the best start to the season. They're finally picking up some momentum. For Maharlika, I think they're gonna feel really hard done by because against Digger they lost 3-2 and against Aguilas they lost 2-1. Those could have been two completely different results on another day. This is a really good fixture also to see the rise in quality of the PFL because obviously I think in their previous fixtures or in their previous seasons rather, Maharlika wouldn't really keep up in these type of big rivalry games, but now they're really keeping close. Again, they only lost 3-2 to Manila Digger. So Maharlika, they're gonna sooner or later they're gonna have one of these big games go their way, and it could have been this one. It didn't. It went in the way of Aguilas, but in the end, it was a good match overall from a neutral perspective.
It's good to see as well that it started. It felt like there's going to be a rivalry now between these two teams because of how this game had a lot of tension. The physicality was pretty high as well, and because of Maharlika's newfound competitiveness, teams are gonna find themselves in real battles, in real duels against this side now. But Aguilas finding a way to get that victory. If you're gonna be a top 6 side, as these two teams want to be, you need to be able to find the victory, somehow, some way, and they figured it out there at the end. I think we're gonna have to put it on full screen, Jomaray Sapal's goal, because there were some bangers. In this
It was that opener.
Yeah.
We were left stunned.
very
And-
very good finish.
Yeah, we were left stunned, and then the other one, of course, the alleged own goal.
Yeah.
We used quad vision for that. So we pretty much got closure, I will say. Just to add from the thought earlier.
Ako, pagkatapos ng quad vision, naisip ko pa rin, si Sapal yan.
Hey, quad vision don't lie.
But yeah, I think we're getting close to the goal. Yeah, they're gonna have a nice exchange here. But let's take a look at this finish. Ooh, goodness
Now, just
me!
remember, he came off the bench for that, Jomaray Sapal.
Take a bow, sir. Left-footed strike, top corner, a thing of beauty, and quite a way to get the scoring going in a very tight match. If you're gonna open up the scorecard there, that's one way to do it. Unbelievable. But yeah, Sapal doing a great job on that one. And a great result for Aguilas, as we mentioned. A tough one for Maharlika. But they must feel that they're getting closer now to these bigger teams, right? So let's move on to the next one. Oh, I saw this one. Ducks let me just say this.
Oh, I said that in the game. My bad.
Something strange in the neighborhood. Who are you gonna call?
When you need a goal. Oh, Jamaray Sapa. No, when you need a goal, who are you gonna call? Yun. Yeah. Cara Fontanilla goes Ghostbusters. She's commenting that game also. Yep.
I love that. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is Wantegig versus Philippine Army. This one, unfortunately, was a very one-sided affair. You might say it was a bloodbath, right? And it ended up 13-0. That's the biggest scoreline I think we've seen.
There's a 13 also going the way of Kaya. Yeah, I can check out the
Right,
records
right.
just to
Okay,
be sure,
all
but
right.
it's up there, man. I mean, at least just for the season, right?
Right, right.
Records were set in 2024, pero
It's on par
I mean,
with
season records.
some of the worst scorelines we've seen so far, and Philippine Army finding themselves on the wrong side of this one. I did a bit of research, and they have not scored a goal this season. In fact, you'd have to go back a year and 4 months to see when they last scored a goal. So it's been quite some time for Philippine Army. Was the performance as bad as the scoreline suggests, Diego?
Well, the scoreline is very harsh, and at times in that game, you could just feel that it's gonna keep happening time and time again. That I think Taguig scored after 3 minutes,
Yep.
and after that, it was just non-stop for the whole game. I think 2 players got a hat trick for
Patrick Rachel
for
Casemiro.
one Taguig. So yeah, they were able to stat pad for this game. A bit unfortunate for Army. It is a little bit hard to see now where they're gonna get their first win for the season, assuming that they are able to get one. Let's hope they do for their sake. For one Taguig, good performance, good to get some confidence back again. They lost to Manila Digger the week before, so they're back up and running. And I think they retained 3rd place in the table for now. Unfortunately for Army, for their sake, we're gonna hope that the score lines of their games from the future are a little bit closer. And for one Taguig, on the other hand, it's good momentum building going into this next week for the PFL.
Claro?
That is the biggest, 13. I checked because Kaya's win. I mean, all due respect, just stating the facts, it was 12 for Kaya
Yeah.
over Army. This one is 13.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully Philippine Army get the act together. But yeah, Patrick Rachel Casemiro led the way there.
There was, it's one thing to be, let's say, out-techniqued, out-talented by certain sides, but it's the manner in which it seems like they rolled over a little bit, and that's disappointing, because Army have a reputation of being a dogged side, a difficult team to play against, and unfortunately, it just wasn't the case, and it really is quite disheartening because I think it's a team that everybody wants to see do well, and unfortunately at this moment in time it's just not panning out for them, so they really need to find a way to remedy this, or else it might turn into a very ugly season. This is one of the moments that was particularly disappointing because the goalkeeper smashed it into the back of his own teammate and led to a goal. Let's have a look at it one more time, just so that we can enjoy the action. But some good finishing, to be fair, to the gig, but they also had a lot of the space and time to do their work. So, you have to feel for the players of Army at this point. It's like, where do we go from here? But they do have quite an interesting game coming up that we can talk about a little bit later on. So that's how it finished on Saturday. Let's move on to Sunday's action, where Stallion took on Valenzuela PB Mendiola, and this one is all about the return of one Griffin McDaniel to the side of Stallion. And yeah, exactly, we've seen this celebration one more time as he took, he didn't need a warm-up to find the score sheet once again. So Finn McDaniel doing his thing and helping earn his side a 5-0 victory against Valenzuela PB Mendiola. Claro?
Well, he's wearing the number 14 jersey. We gotta ask him why. I know from time to time, Finn and Chandler, of course, siblings will say, "Oh, they're the better number 8 for Stallion." So one will say, "That's my number." The other one will say, "Give it to the better player." But I will ask Finn, why is he wearing number 14? But with that game also, Finn, of course, finished with a brace, right?
Yep.
Walang warm up, and Jack Zambrano playing for Valenzuela PB Menjola, former goalkeeper for Cebu. He brings in that experience, I could say, because he was with Cebu for quite some time also. Got some valuable minutes. The scoreline unideal, he had to work a lot. But yeah, this is the stallion we know when you flip the switch. Because we recall, right, they were lacking that. You don't say firepower, right? They were controlling games, but just lacked that finishing touch. So Finn's there now to boost things for them. Also go for Papi Ivanovsky. That's big for them, right? He's one of those creative players for Stallion. So if they want to carry that momentum, of course, no doubt.
So yeah, a bit more of a cutting edge to Stallion. They're going to need it as they have a big match coming up this weekend. But your thoughts on that performance, Diego?
Yeah, very impressed with especially the front line of Stallion this game. You mentioned Claro McDaniel, but it's also impressed by Trujillo, and I was very impressed by their left winger, itong si Kedman. And then I was doing research during the game. He is actually an international player. He has one cap for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yep.
That is a football crazy nation. And other than that, former academy player of Chelsea and West Ham in England. And I think I read somewhere that he's obsessed with street football, five-a-side football. He grew up in that environment. And you could see it when he played because he was going crazy at that left-hand side, and his pace is electric. So he's going to be a problem for a lot of the teams in the PFL. So you have the likes of McDaniel, Trujillo, Kedman. You also have Diallo, who scored against, I believe it was Manila Digger. So Stallion have a lot of firepower for the rest of the season. Let's see if they can carry on from this performance.
How many match days has it been now? 4? 5? Has it 5 match weeks since somebody has walked into the camera and celebrated in front of it? Finn McDaniel. It's about time, guys. You know, we've got some great angles there to utilize it. It's fun to see it being used by one Mr. McDaniel. But they were enjoying themselves, and I think this is sort of the key to Stallion now, is just really finding that the last third, solving the last third, and if they can make that click. I've had the pleasure of calling a couple Stallion games where I felt this is a really good team. It's going to be very, very tough to beat them. So, yeah, them with the goals, it's a scary proposition. It finished 5-0 in this one. Let's jump into our final match of the weekend, and that was Manila Digger taking on Tuloy. That one finished 8-2. But Diego, you enjoyed that one a lot in terms of a spectacle of football. It seemed like it was an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, Jamer and I called this one, and we were going absolutely crazy during this goal fest. It started out really even. When it was scoreless, chances were going both ways. Eventually, Manila Digger took a 2-0 lead right after, in quick succession. So we were thinking, okay, this might become one of those types of games where it just becomes one-sided. And then all of a sudden, there's a rocket from Cyril Saot to make it 2-1. And then if you watch the game back with audio, Jamer and I go crazy. And then after that, Manila Digger scored 2 more goals again. So we were thinking, okay, this is it now. They're going to go away with it. And then Halik pulls out another rocket right before halftime. And I was going absolutely crazy with Jamer. So this goal fest was incredible. And I think if you're Tuloy, you'll have to say that for the first half at least, they created chances when it was still scoreless. They could have taken the lead. Eventually, it was 5-2 at halftime. But at moments in that first half, they kept up with Manila Digger. They can score against these big teams. For Manila Digger, in second half, they just bulldozed their way through Tuloy, and it is kind of expected. You have their raw pace and power up against the Tuloy team, which is good in many aspects, but in terms of pace and power and height, that will obviously go the way of Manila Digger, and that's what they used for the rest of this match. In the end, it was an entertaining game from a neutral's perspective. There is probably some signs of encouragement from Tuloy if you look at the first half especially. And I think, despite the scoreline, I think Tuloy will be happy with those 2 goals because those 2 goals were really something else.
Definitely a fantastic goal from Cyril Saot alongside Jomaray Sapal's goal. I would say those are the 2 contenders for goals of the week. Very tight one, but I would say the significance of Sapal's goal might give him the edge, but it's up to you guys to decide that. My question for this one is, Tuloy, they have a very structured approach. They're going to stick to their guns. so to speak. But one Jose Mourinho has this great saying that, everybody has their ideas, but if you stick to your ideas and die, then that's kind of, I'm paraphrasing, but it's stupid to die with your own ideas, so to speak, right? Do you think it's smart for Tuloy to just, whatever happens, whoever we're up against, eto lang yung style of play natin? Or should they adjust accordingly if they're up against a team like Manila Digger, who is a title challenger?
Interesting, yeah. First is, I could still look at them at the developmental aspect, because when you look at them, everyone's saying it, bata pa rin sila. Pretty much like a youth team. The players are in their late teens or early 20s. So with what you said first, I think they can still trust the process here. As cliche as that may sound. But
go ahead.
Maybe down the line, years later, if their players are more experienced and they're in their prime, and maybe still things aren't still working out, maybe that's when they can start to think a little outside of the box and try to reinvent the wheel of sorts. That's my take with this Tuloy squad.
My argument to that is that it's part of your development to learn to play different ways. Like if you need to set up shop and protect the lead, or to not concede early against Manila Digger, that's part of your development, right? And knowing how to play out the back is a good thing. But if that's the only thing you know how to do, are you really developing correctly? Right?
You're talking about versatility here. I get where you're coming from also.
That's part of it. You want to be holistic, right? And if you're talking about them as a developmental team, doesn't it also include being pragmatic at times?
Yeah, I was actually the analyst for this game, so I had a bit more room to say stuff that maybe a play-by-play couldn't. And I kept noticing that even though the scoreline was 5-2, 6-2, 7-2, Tuloy would have their players, when Manila Digger would have the ball, Tuloy would have their players standing on the half line. That's their back line na. So there is an ocean of space for Cisse to run into, which he got into so many times. So I was saying in the game, okay, if they're doing it, then they're just going to keep on doing it. It's clear that they're going to stick with it. But I agree also with your point that maybe it could also help from time to time to maybe adjust and see if there's a better way for a better game given different context in terms of style of play. Actually, I agree fully with PFL Bible's comment here. Tuloy have nothing to lose because they're in a development stage, but at the same time, what's better for development than getting their players used to different systems and changing them. So you can see both sides. It's good to stick to your ideals, but I also agree with the fact that maybe sometimes pragmatism and changing based on the game state could do wonders for a young team.
And can I say, si Coach Taketomo bahala dyan. He'll take care of that, man.
The one thing that it's just been, as a thought experiment for me is, that's the beauty of having 11 teams in a league, right? I mean, there are half of that roster, you will play, I'm going to go toe-to-toe with you. No problem, right? But if your style of play, and if you plot out the probabilities, it's like an 80-20, 20% chance of us winning if you go toe-to-toe against Kaya and Manila Digger, maybe a change in approach to make it 60-40, 50-50 would be smart. And it would also aid in the development. That's just my thought on it. But in all the other games where you're 50-50, even 60-40, you're likely to lose. Let's go play our style. It's better for our boys, right? That I understand. But that's just something that I've been thinking, because development is not just one thing, one idea, right? It could be many things. So.
Interesting though. We got to see a lot of answers. Creative. Creative, yeah.
So fantastic set of games over the weekend, and it's really helped us see how the standings are now starting to take shape as we're reaching that halfway point of our first round. And when you look at the table now, Manila Digger on top with 13 points, but with a game more than Kaya FC Iloilo, who are in second at 12. One Taguig, despite the disappointment of the previous weekend, is still there with 9. Stallion Laguna in the top 4 with 7. Dynamic Herb Cebu there at 5. Aguilas UMAC with 6. And Maharlika right there as well with 6 points. So, despite their disappointments of late, they're still knocking on the door of that top 6. Tuloy and Valenzuela PB Mendiola, they've got 3 points apiece. And then the two teams still scoreless. still pointless rather, are Don Bosco Guerrilla United and Philippine Army. But actually correct to say scoreless also because they've not scored any goals. However, Philippine Army, nananawagan po kami sa inyo. 31 na po yung mga goals na pinamigay ninyo. So, please guys, we really want to see you guys succeed. So we hope that there's going to be some sort of improvement on the side of Philippine Army. Don Bosco Guerrilla have conceded 10 goals so far, and there's going to be some interesting matchups over the course of the weekend to talk about. So we will get to that in just a little bit, but first we will thank our drinks partner, Thirst. Yes. Kick off with savings this football season. Use the code PFL 2025 on the Thirst app for special discounts. Thirst is the Philippines' only beverage marketplace, so download the Thirst app today or wherever you get your apps. All right? Okay, here we go. This weekend's matchups, all of these games will be live streamed at youtube.com/wearepfl. That is one word. Don't put any spaces on it or else you won't find it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when the games are on. All right? 3 games on Saturday. It's becoming a habit. Our Saturday triple headers. Maharlika versus Philippine Army. Ooh, that's going to be a fun one. Valenzuela PB Mendiola versus Don Bosco Guerrilla United. Valenzuela with 3 points. Don Bosco Guerrilla United looking for the first point of the season. And then we've got a banger.
Ding, ding, ding.
8:30 p.m. Heavyweights, Stallion Laguna FC taking on Kaya FC Iloilo. That's a game we're going to be talking about quite a bit. And then on Sunday, we've got a doubleheader, Aguilas Yumac FC taking on Tuloy FC. And then at 7 p.m. that evening, Manila Digger versus Dynamic Herb Cebu FC. Woo! That's going to be a big one. One Taguig will sit this weekend out, but boy, do we have some big games coming up this weekend. So let's get to it. All right, let's start off on Saturday. Maharlika versus Philippine Army. Maharlika looking to get back into the win column and gate crash, at least momentarily, that top 6 if they are able to get victory. But it is going to be up against a Philippine Army side who, after hearing today's show, are going to put on an extra valiant effort. Right?
Inspirational talk, courtesy of Jing Hamla.
On Saturday. So, Diego, what are your thoughts heading into this contest?
Well, on paper, obviously, Maharlika FC would be the favorite. Again, these are 2 teams that lost last week, and so maybe there's a little bit of uncertainty for this matchup, whether or not it's going to be as direct as it points to be on paper. For Philippine Army, it is a tough match because you're against the team in 7th, but at the same time, Maharlika are level on points with the teams in 6th and 5th. So that's their level now. Maharlika, they're not from the same level as they were previous seasons. They've raised their level now. For Philippine Army, it's going to be challenging once again. But maybe, can you just spring a little bit of a surprise, as we were talking about earlier, maybe change your style of play? Because Philippine Army is the other team that I noticed when they don't have the ball, their players are on the halfway line. Mm-hmm. So maybe can they rethink their approach and then maybe change the script a little bit? Because maybe there is a little bit of uncertainty in this Maharlika team. Again, they lost last week and you just don't know how teams respond to losses, to the game itself. And maybe there's just that window of opportunity for Philippine Army to exploit. But yeah, on paper, it's gonna be Maharlika's all day. Let's see what happens on the match day. And yeah, I'm gonna be excited to call this one, I believe, on Saturday.
Claro, Philippine Army, what are their chances here against Maharlika FC?
I mean, yeah, there's the chances on paper, but a result is never guaranteed, right? You gotta play through it. Whatever results there at halftime, that's only half-baked. It's not gonna translate automatically to whatever's at full time. So once we kick it off, sila na bahala, right? It's up to them if whatever team, the favorite team, wants to live up to that hype, or are they gonna succumb to the pressure? Sometimes there's the pressure also, right? Excuse me, where we're the favorite team and all of a sudden they just have an off day. These things happen.
It is an unfamiliar position for Maharlika to be like, all right, this is a game that we should win. And there's a different pressure to that, right? Also, as opposed to being the underdog where there's nothing to lose, our back's against the wall, we're just going to give it everything we've got, right? So you're right. Maybe there could be something of of a surprise that we may see in this game. But Philippine Army, for them, it's all about the small victories, right? Score your first goal. Hey, you never know, right?
Baka tuloy-tuloy. You never know, right? It's like confidence coming like that. You just get that next wave, and so on.
I did see that Jandrick Soriano Jalsor Soriano is back in the lineup, so that's big for them. Let's move on to the 5:45 kickoff with Valenzuela PB Mendiola taking on Don Bosco Garelli United. This one's gonna be quite interesting, I would imagine, because Valenzuela PB Mendiola have 3 points under their belts already. Don Bosco Garelli United still seeking their first point, but they've shown that there has been improvement from their side. So, Claro, I'm going to start with you on this one. Is this going to be a tight game?
I will say yes. First, when you assess the way the teams played, of course, in their previous games so far in this season, but let's get to it, the implications. Parang may logjam, or even call it a Royal Rumble. 4 through 9, they're all close together in the standings. A Valenzuela PB win will help them shoot up to 6. If Garelli get the win, they're going to join that mix. So it's quite chaotic there. Maybe if you're the teams, there's more pressure now. I know it's early on in the season, but you want to get that momentum already, as we've been talking about, and you don't want to play catch up at the end of the season. So regardless of result here I'm assuming one is gonna get the win over the other. That's gonna cause mayhem in the standings. If Garelli do get it, that's another team in the win column, and it's gonna get crazy in that pack right there.
So it could shake up the table in a big way. Diego, are you expecting Valenzuela PB Mendiola to have this one over Don Bosco Garelli United, or how do you see this playing out?
I think, honestly, I can't really predict this one because I agree with Clara. It's going to be a little bit of a chaotic match. I think there will be a win. I don't think it's going to end in a draw. I think I'm going to recall a game Don Bosco Garelli played, I think 3 weeks ago. They kept it close against Maharlika, and we're seeing the level of Maharlika now. So I think there's something in this game for them. For Valenzuela PB Mendiola, their motivation is going to be, can we get to 6 points? That's already going to be 2 wins, which is already more that they're going to have when you compare it to their season last year. So there's a lot of incentive for both sides. Again, for both of these teams, they'll probably say that this is one of the most winnable fixtures in terms of opponents in the rest of the PFL. So this match is going to be very incentivized. I think both teams, because of that fact, are going to go for it full on, not settle for a draw. Both teams will play for the 3 points. I think there's a little bit of a chance that this could become a goal fest. I hope it does. And I'm going to be excited to watch this one also in the stands.
I'm going to wait for your prediction.
Is this kind of a 6-pointer for these two teams, would you reckon? Are they, direct rivals in the standings?
I say yes. Now, when you and I would call games, dikit yung mga teams sa standings, 6-pointer, add 3 to your own, take away 3 from the opponent. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say whoever loses, may chance sila bumawi in the second round, but you never know, as we've said, because it's always we should have won this game, but because of that, we're left trailing. So there you go.
So we're expecting that one to be a nice and competitive contest between those two teams, which will warm you up nicely for the 8:30 kickoff, which is Stallion Laguna FC coming off victory, taking on against a Kaya FC Iloilo side who took a rest in the previous week, right? So this is a big one. This is a big game. Stallion Laguna refreshed, refurbished, and looking very dangerous despite perhaps some disappointing results on their part. But they're up against a Kaya FC Iloilo that is perfect right now. It's got all the makings of an incredible contest and a game that should be very, very entertaining. What do you guys think will be the deciding factor in a contest like this?
I think this match is going to be incredibly tight. Again, Kaya have been perfect this PFL season, and I think that might just motivate Stallion even further. Can they be the ones to stain the record of Kaya? Again, they've won all their games and they haven't conceded a goal. So for Stallion, whose attack is stacked also, can they maybe put a blemish on Kaya's record so far this season? Obviously for Kaya, the motivation is quite simple, to stay perfect. So I think this match is going to be a very tight one. I think it's going to be a moment of magic that separates the two teams. Let's see from which individual it comes on Saturday.
There was an international break in between the win of Stallion that got them their confidence back, and for Kaya it's been a very long break. Who does it benefit more that there has been such a gap between their last games and this contest on Saturday?
For me, it resets things. Like whatever result you're coming from, ideally, if you play 7 days after, let's say, a win, in theory, I think that's good. But if you have this international break, but we do know, of course, it's all planned out. It's not like, uy, international break, walang PFL muna. Everything planned out, of course. So in this situation, I think it will level it. Yeah, whoever has momentum, they're gonna have to carry things on. But for me, Stallion, Kaya, I think this will be the tester Kaya's backline. Like, yes, they haven't conceded with Kaishu being inserted there. But as we've said, Stallion every year able to just retool and add more pieces, especially in the attacking end or even in other positions. So this will be the test. I mean, I'm not overlooking the regular members of Kaya's backline, right? Those guys are tried and tested. Go with Marco Casambre, Simona, that long list we are all familiar with, but it's this opportunity for Kaiju. I mean, we know he's the real deal, right? But Yamazaki's proven as a center mid. But now this will be a test as a defender. We know he can do it, of course, but yeah, there's that firepower here.
Yeah. And, it's going to be tricky as well. We're not sure who he's going to be up against. Is it going to be McDaniel? Is it going to be Diallo? Maybe a bit of both. Two players who provide two different threats. So quite interesting, right? Very quickly, we'd just like to say a quick congratulations to our under-17 women's team.
Let's go!
Who have won 2-0 against Tajikistan in the Asian Cup qualifiers. So well done to them. That's 2 for 2 for them.
Yeah.
Victory against Syria and then victory against Tajikistan. So they are doing very well in their Asian Cup qualifiers. Any last thoughts on the big game against between Stallion and Kaya?
It's going to be physical. It's going to be very physical.
Yeah.
1-1 draw, sabihin ko na.
Yeah, definitely something that you guys would see as like what would be the level of potential title contenders in the PFL. I think it's going to be a good early shout for that. Interestingly, because of the break, you wonder, is there going to be a Shutokomaki for Kaya? There's been a bit of a break. You never know. He's been sidelined recently, so it could add to the firepower of the defending champions, but we don't know.
Actually, I was going to say there's a little bit of a different factor here that I just thought of now. If maybe Kaya will rotate slightly, because as we know,
AFC Champions League.
yeah, so next week they go to New Clark, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
They're playing against Patom also. Powerhouse. Yeah, because that thing there with Shuto Komaki, he did get injured. He got injured in that game versus Aguilas. And then about 4 days later, that's when they had to play Tampines Rovers of Singapore.
Right.
But for me, I think they're going all out here.
Yeah.
Just to set the tone for the domestic league.
They did quite good against Pohang Steelers, actually. Like, the scoreline suggests that, again, they lost in the Champions League too, but there was real good passages of play there where they held their own in Korea against that team. So, again, so many question marks. We're going to get our answers on Saturday between those two. And then on Sunday, the Aguilas UMAC FC take on Tuloy FC. The free-flowing Tuloy up against a Aguilas side that has grinded their way to a victory. What kind of contest are we expecting here to start off Sunday?
I think if you're Aguilas, you'll see yourself as the favorites. But if you're Tuloy, you'll probably want to see a little bit more of that, what we saw in the first maybe 15 to 20 minutes against Manila Deer when it was scoreless, plus the 2 goals obviously that went in the first half. So I think for Tuloy, they will say that there are going to be chances for them in this game. All the criticisms or question marks on their system, there is one guarantee, is that they'll create chances.
Yeah.
How many chances they concede, that's the question mark. But what's not up for debate is the fact that they can play and create chances through their opponents. So I think they'll get chances here. But again, you have to say, like their last match, the raw pace and power of their opponents, which is too much for them. It might be the same case here against Aguilas. For example, if you're up against Adamu from Aguilas, who is a really athletic and tall player, that could cause problems. And also, actually, I just remembered now, in Tuloy's last game against Manila Digger, there was no Antilio, who has been really good this season. So I don't know if he'll be back for this one, because that might also be a factor if he's not there. And actually, I was gonna say it now, the bench of Tuloy was really light last week. I don't know why, but hopefully for their sake, it's a more complete squad. And hopefully for their sake, they can put more of a challenge for a more sustained period against the bigger team in Aguilas, who are going to be the favorites for this match.
Aguilas with a real opportunity to keep the momentum going, build a bit of steam this season. What are the keys to this contest, Claro?
I think, well, Tuloy stated there with Diego already, but Aguilas, they're going to bring the same playbook as everyone would. And I'm not saying this to disrespect Tuloy, but with them being, of course, much younger, they're going to bring out that gulang, pagkamama, take it to them, of course. You know, Tuloy is going to they'll never back down from these challenges. Of course, these boys are built tough. But I think that's where Aguilas will get the advantage at the end. But I'm not gonna call them surprises anymore from Tuloy, because we're capable. We know what they're capable of doing. But I'll see Aguilas take that with their experience and go lang here and there.
Has Tuloy been blanked in any of their games, or have they found the back of the net at least once in their games?
I think they've scored every game. Wait, so
They were blanked against Stallion.
Just against
yun.
that. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. But they kept it close.
Yeah.
But they
Decent
kept that
scoreline, we
one.
will say.
That's right.
Let's be fair.
That's right. And then, of course, there's the main event. We've got some bangers this weekend. And this one, Manila Digger FC, fresh from a big victory, going up against Dynamic Herb Cebu FC, who are back on track. Historically, this has been a very exciting watch. And I think we're going to get another one this weekend between these two. Absolute fireworks between Manila Digger FC and Dynamic Herb Cebu. Is there a favorite in this game?
I would say maybe just slightly Manila Digger are the favorites because of their form. They've peaked at the right time for this one. Again, they beat Montagig. I think we called that game. That was 3 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks ago, 8-2 against Tuloy. And I think actually Manila Digger will really be happy with the fact that they've built momentum, because later this month they'll also go to Cambodia for the Challenge League, the AFC Challenge League, the third tier competition. So they'll want to win this match especially, just so they can raise their confidence before they represent the Philippines abroad. For Dynamic Herb Cebu naman, again, they did win last week, so the mood is a little bit better. Again, they'll want to play for their province, especially after what happened recently. So I think there's a lot of motivation for both of these sides. It's going to be a physical one. It's going to be a rematch of the final series final, which Manila Digger won 1-0. Tight game. Might be a bit of the same. It's going to be a tight game again. Honestly, you could flip a coin on this one. But for me, I'm going to, because of the way especially they performed against Montagig, I'm going to fancy Manila Digger ever so slightly for this match. But Cebu could take it also. We know that they've taken results like this in the past.
Well, one thing that's been quite puzzling for Cebu has been, what is their most effective 11? Claro, what do you think they'll put together for this one in such a big game against Manila Digger? Are there certain individuals you feel need to be on the pitch in order for them to be able to get a result?
Yeah, I will say I've been quite surprised this season that JB Borlon would come off the bench. He was a shoe-in starter for this team throughout his tenure. It's only now I've seen him come off the bench regularly. That's what I feel. But when you bring him off the bench, he's gonna give you a goal. In my opinion, I feel if you have Fatty on one side and JB Borlon on the other side, those are dangerous dangerous wingers you're gonna have to deal with. The fullbacks, of course, of the opposing team are gonna be tested. So that's my opinion, of course. Because I'll admit also, Fatty would come off the bench at times also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're anticipating that the wings are going to be quite busy on this one, because the wings of Manila Digger have been very effective, right? You have Nishioka, Troy Limbo, Ziggy Taninko, as well as, I'm missing out, Schaffner on the wings for Manila Digger. They really bombard and really raid down those sides, no? So to have a strong wing presence for Cebu, you'd imagine it has to be a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's remember, you need the big bodies to clash, of course, with Manila Digger's personnel. And Sekou Cisse told me weeks back, they were just getting started. Hindi pa rin nag-peak. I let the weeks go on. Okay, Sekou, now I know what you're talking about right there with the results that they're showing. I mean, he's one of the top scorers again in the league. Perfect time for them to click, right? Because the exact date when they played their first game in Cambodia is October 26. So this is 7 days right before. So I'm not saying you don't use the term practice game because it's obviously the PFL here. But this is, you could say, a perfect or ideal warm-up right here for Manila Digger. Then again, they're playing against Cebu. This squad again, babad na rin sila because they're playing in the Shopee Cup. So, just like the matchup of Kaya and Stallion, this is a game we're obviously looking forward to.
What is the percentage that this turns into a draw? I think it's going to be physical. It should be a fun game, and it could have title implications if there is a winner. Right? So this one should be a lot of fun. Manila Digger FC versus Dynamic Herb Cebu. You got a great warm-up to that game between the Aguilas and Tuloy FC. And on Saturday, of course, you've got the big game against Kaya. So certainly a lot of great football action to look forward to over the course of this weekend. And we'd just like to remind everybody that the FIFA Women's Futsal World Cup is coming up in November, and the tickets are available already. We are in Group A, where we will face Poland, Morocco, and Argentina. And all of those games will take place at 8:30. We have a match on November 21, November 24, and on November 27. So hopefully we'll see you guys there at the Phil Sports Arena. All tickets are available at fifa.com/tickets. All-day passes are available. So whether it's a double header or 2 double headers, quadruple headers, you would just have to pay for 1 ticket. $1,399 for premium seating. That is your Cat 1 ticket. $699 is your Cat 2. That is open seating. And Cat 3 are $499. All right, just a little bit higher up in the arena. There you have it. All right, fifa.com/tickets. Again,
can I add real quick? Of course. Yeah, next week. It's October 23. That's the Kaya Anthem game, of course. That will be in New Clark City.
Ooh.
Again, so just to add, so tuloy-tuloy yung
Suki ka na dun, ah.
I know. Me and the stadium, we're best friends.
It's a great place to watch football.
I love it.
It's a fantastic
being
stadium.
There. Worth the drive.
Yeah. So shout out to all the fans who have been hanging out in the chat. We appreciate you guys so very much and just in general, making the football community in the Philippines that much more vibrant. You guys are a huge part in what makes this community thrive. So we appreciate you guys very much. All right. All the games this weekend will be at the Rizal Memorial Stadium, and they will be streamed on the PFL YouTube channel. Also, follow us on TikTok. Yeah, _. We are PFL _. And don't forget to subscribe to Upstream Sports TV for more engaging sports live streams and features. Again, my name is Jing Hamlang, your host, and with my panel, Diego Cordero and Claro Manzano, we'd like to thank you, and we'd like to invite you to catch us again on the next installment of the Minsan Football Show presented by Up Sports TV. We'll see you next week, and we'll see you at the games at Rizal Memorial Stadium. Goodbye.
Can't wait for the weekend. Let's go.